Hello, everybody. So, I guess I'm kind of catching you by surprise. I haven't done one of these in a minute. I'm learning to do them on Facebook so that I could share them to. I'm sorry, I'm learning to do these streams on. Now, actually, I always knew to do them on YouTube, but I like to do them on YouTube because I could share it to Facebook and X, and then I could copy the URL and share it on Twitter and stuff as well. All right, so anyway, let's take a look at how God stretched them in the Bible. So God is in control and what to do about it. Okay, so do you know that you don't actually have to read the Bible anymore? You can listen to it. Now, when we have that great outage, uh, the great power outage and we won't get the internet and stuff, well, we might want to have a Bible handy because there's going to be a day where we're going to begin to have 3 days of darkness. Don't forget about that. I don't know if Pastor preached about that this week. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry for the silence. Apparently, to some people, silence is uncomfortable. It never really bothered me, especially since that's all most people want anyway. It's silence. Hmm. You got to ask yourself, what would you do for silence and peace of mind? I don't know. I would do a lot. Okay. So now I think I'm all settled in here. I wanted to make sure I had everything before I began. All right. So I'm going to start this with God is in control and what to do about it. Okay. So if you're not going to read the story about David in the Bible, you could listen to it. Just ask Alexa, she might read the thing to you, or Siri. There are lots of ways now for you to hear the Bible, okay? If you don't like going to church, okay? It's too loud. People are jumping around. I'm catching the Holy Spirit or something. You know, uh, some churches will scare the hoopla out of you because there's a lot of hoopla going on in a lot of churches. And I'm not judging either way because I don't know how the Spirit is going to move. And uh, uh, it's not for me to say. If the Holy Spirit touches somebody and they feel like jumping around, that's fine. Okay. One thing I would like to have happen though, I'd like to be able to do that dance that people do. Not so much the jumping around. I can anybody can jump around, but they got this really cool dance that they do. But anyway, I digress. All right, so I want to tell you a little bit about how some things work in the kingdom of heaven here on earth. Okay, so there's a kingdom of heaven, of course, in heaven, and there's a kingdom of heaven here on earth. Okay, so what we want to do is move around in the kingdom of heaven here on earth, because that other kingdom, you might not be overly concerned about earth. So uh, I'm just laughing at how that um, came across in my brain. I'm like, oh, okay, so there's two different places that you could be in the kingdom of heaven. All right. So let's consider David. And the reason why I want to use David, because I want to encourage you to not think your life is over because of, whatever happened. You caught a case, uh, you're not married, and you're living in some kind of relationship. You're gay, uh, you're you're not gay, you're you're like same sex or something. I don't know. I don't know what it's called anymore. We had different names for it whenever we were growing up, but now everybody's politically correct, and I just didn't keep up with all the terms. Sheesh. I'm just glad that, but for the grace of God, there go I. It's hard enough for me to go through what I got to go through just being a plain dude. So yeah, I don't need nothing extra. So that's my point of view. Whatever you do you, boo. Okay, but let's consider David, and I want to show you how it may work for you in the kingdom of heaven. All right, and how it worked for me. Okay, so number one, when we grew up, that we were about the same age as the Jackson Five, and we would sing for the parents and their company. For some reason or another, we were singers. It was just something that was in us. I don't remember rehearsing with my brothers or anything, but we all listened to the same songs, and whenever they played it, well, we were just able to do it. It was just something that we were able to do from my memory. Okay. Now, it's important that you remember what you used to do when you were a child. You're going to read something, or if you listen to the Bible, a certain scripture that says, train up the child in the way that they should go, and when they are older, they will not part from it. All right, now this is how you're going to get your understanding of how things work in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, so when I got older, sure enough, I was able to sing solos, and dancing was out, and dancing and singing. No, I wasn't going there. I had to learn how to have a, a stage presence. Lift your hand. Point to people. I didn't know how to do that. All I ever knew was singing in the choir, rocking back and forth. You know what I'm saying? I got so tired of that, and that's only because I did it for years, not because it was my first year. And every time the choir starts singing, the choir director, starts with like this. I'm like, oh, yeah, for a while it was pretty cool, but when you do it for 40 years, you're like, you know what? There got to be a better way. So I had to learn about stage presence, because when my gifts started taking off, I would just stand behind the microphone and just belt it out, sister and brother. So, anyway, somebody had suggested you should do something with your stage presence. I had no idea what that meant, but I did it. All right. So, it's important that you listen to people, young people, that you listen to people that are older than, than you are. Okay. Listen to the ones that got some sense. I guess you could learn something from any of them, but try to listen to the ones that got some sense. The ones that are trying to encourage you, the ones that are trying to lift you up, not the ones who are going to tell you, well, this is going to happen if you do that. Which is easier to say? The Okay. I mean, you could listen to somebody who's negative all the time or positive all the time. They both take the same amount of time. Or you could listen to one for 5 minutes and one for 10 minutes. it still took you 15 minutes. So it's going to take 15 minutes on this particular, uh, for this particular example. But anyway, so what David was doing was he used to be a, he was the youngest. And what he did was he had chores, all right? And he was supposed to take the sheep out, and if he left with 12, he should come back with 12. All right. So one of the things he found out, in order to do that, he had to learn how to protect and defend the sheep. Okay. Pretty sure a couple goats went too. Okay. So he was proficient with a slingshot. He killed a bear, killed a lion, you know, and I'm pretty sure he didn't sneak up on him either. Hello. So, this is what he was doing when he was a child. So, this is how the Most High is probably working in your life. Whatever you were gifted at, whatever you would do whenever you were by yourself, um, this is your gift. Okay. So, when you get older, uh, the Most High would have worked that thing out. And when you finally, uh, I don't know, break through, um, you're prepared. Okay. God doesn't, I'm sorry, the Most High doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the ones he called. I'm not really sure where that came from, but you may hear that in the, let's just say, uh, the circles of people that are from Judah, okay, or part of the ministry of Judah. So even though Judah is over there, well, there's actually a Judah over here where we are. Okay, so um, they say at one time though all the landmass was connected, which makes perfect sense if you think about how things were done. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. Okay, so anyway, so what David did, uh, he wasn't looking for any accolades or anything like that there. He was just doing his thing. Was that David or was that Joseph? Hmm. Okay, wait a minute. Let's switch. David killed the lion, or Joseph killed the uh, giant. Yeah, David in the slingshot. I guess I didn't prepare for that one. But anyway, let's just not use the names. How about that? So there was a young man. He was good with a slingshot, and he killed a giant. Now, when he killed that giant, he was before he killed the giant, he was actually doing something else. Okay, and the giant showed up with an army, and he happened to go where the standoff between the giant and his people were at. And he was like, "Hey, what's going on? Dad sent me to bring y'all something to eat. Y'all been out here for a couple of days. You know how you look up to your family members. You're like, you're well able." So anyway, he decided that he could handle the situation. Blah blah blah, and he had walked into a situation, and he used what he learned when he was a child to slay the giant. Okay, same thing with Joseph. The Most High is always working on you and what He wants you to do. This is basically why I'm trying to tell you these stories, because as you can see, I'm not overwhelming you with my wisdom of the Bible or my knowledge of the Bible. All right, so anyway, I digress. So Joseph, uh, he had a dream. He was a dreamer, but he had a chore as well. believe he was supposed to tend the sheep or something. Oh boy, I'm just not prepared for this. But anyway, um, maybe I can help the people who are like me. Okay, so I'm not trying to impress a scholar. I'm not trying to um, do anything. I'm just trying to give you an example of how the Most High is always working on you. So Joseph had the dream. He shared the dream. Everybody was jealous of him because uh, he had a coat that was gifted to him by the father, but the young ones or his brothers weren't really grasping that son or Joseph was from one of the father's favorite wives. And he worked 14 years to be able to marry this one woman. So when she finally had a kid, it was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, because he was bamboozled with some shenanigans to marry a daughter of a certain man, but that man was speak with forked tongue. Let's just say it like that. And he tricked him into marrying the older sister first. So there was, two sisters. He liked the other one. I actually been in that similar situation before. Okay, so anyway, I digress. That was hindsight. I hadn't really thought about it before, but I did have a chance to choose between two sisters. All right, so anyway, look at everything that happened to Joseph. For him to end up being the person who actually saved his brothers that he told the dream that they were jealous of, and he ended up with a much fancier coat than what his dad gave him because you know now he works for the king, and everybody who worked for the king kind of dressed nice. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So I just want to use that as an example of how God works things out for you in the kingdom. Okay, let's go to point number two. All right, so I'm God, I'm stretched them. Now, either one of them may have had an idea that the Most High uh, favored them. Oh, yeah. Okay, so either one of them, since they were younger, probably didn't have a inclination on how the Most High uses things to stretch us, to increase our faith. Okay, if you're going through, a tough time or something like that, there, well, who ain't? The Most High could be using this in the kingdom of heaven to stretch you, to prepare you for what He's getting ready to do. So you may do something that's bigger than you in the kingdom of heaven or bigger than you thought, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just trying to emphasize that the Most High has been working. He may have used the Ruach Kadosh to do it, worked on you throughout your life to bada boom, bam. Now you're doing something. So you may, give all honor to God, like David did. I come to you in the name of the Most High. Yeah, okay. But I can't really remember where his counterpart Joseph. I can't really remember where he said that. But they both receive favor of the Most High. Okay, um, and they did uh, what they were created to do. Okay, all right. So next example, let's consider Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and how they were chosen, and how they were unaware of God's plan, mostly. So that's in Daniel 3:8 through 30. right, so let me take a look at this. In the king, okay. Okay, so um, the earlier books or the earlier chapters in the book of Daniel showed you some things about Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, Daniel, and all the stuff that they went through. Because you don't make it in the Bible just by happenstance. Everybody that's depicted in the Bible were a tool and are a tool that you can use. That they were tools that God used to teach you in 2025 that you could learn from. Okay, so I believe that this had something to do with Shadrach and Meshach up around verse 30. So chapter Daniel chapter 3 verse 8 through 30. It gets down to the meat of the thing. Okay. um, let's say in 27, and the princes, governors, and captains, the king's counselors being gathered together saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their hair singed, neither their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. So what had happened was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they just decided that they were slaves. I don't know how many of you know that, but um, when you take slaves, when you have victory over a place, you take slaves. You take the best of the best of the best. Okay, so these probably were of the best of the best. So they got to work in the king's palace. They were smart. They learned some things, but they did not have their heritage erased, kind of like the current slaves in 2025 who have had their history, their language, their customs. They had everything stolen from them and were made slaves. And you know who I'm talking about. So anyway, I digress. So they were able to keep their customs and whatever. All right, but the king, he had a custom too. And this custom was whenever you hear the horn, everybody bend down and uh, face east or something. I don't know. Wherever the statue was, wherever you were, when that bell went off or whatever, you had to face that statue. So you better know where that joker is. Chances are pretty good if you bow down the same way everybody else is, you got it. Okay. So now, uh, Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, they was like, I don't think we're going to do that. Now, I don't think that they were full of themselves. It's just that their culture and their way of life was still fresh in their minds. They haven't been slaves that long. All right. And then plus they went through a lot of other stuff that helped them get into the king's palace anyway, because they could have worked in fields. All right. So they were ultimately thrown in a fiery furnace, and the Most High worked it out that they didn't get burnt. Okay, and this made the king caught him by surprise. Yeah, kings back in them days had a way of saying things. So Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said, "Hey, everybody, bow down to this uh, idol, or you're going to get thrown in the uh, fiery furnace." All right. If they have the wherewithal and go through the experience with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and coming out of that fire unburned, then they'll probably say something else. Like, "Oh yeah, I knew that was going to happen." But what he did, he still kept talking. He said in verse 29, "Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the Most High of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut into pieces, and their houses shall be cut into pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other Most High that can deliver after or like Shadrach and Meshach had been delivered. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon, which increased their exposure to people. And they were able, just by being promoted, they had a different type of freedom. All right. So the king didn't stop sounding the horn, but at this point, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't have to bend down. Now, that was because of the way that they were raised. All right. Mostly. So just remember, mostly, you don't have to read the Bible anymore. You can listen to it anywhere. I suggest before bed or and first thing in the morning. It'll change how you move throughout the day. So be of good cheer no matter what you're going through. Uh, do, 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 um, it'll get better. Okay, because the hand of the Most High is on your life. You just have to go through stuff. I pray that you don't have to go through a fiery furnace. Okay, and I pray that you don't have to fight a giant that got three brothers. That's going to be a little bit upset when they find out what you did. All right. All right. So, so what I did was I had opened up Daniel chapter 1 for you, and I was going to read verse 4 to show you children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had an ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end therefore they might stand before the king. So what was going on here was they didn't eat meat, okay? And here you go. You just heard that they're supposed to eat meat and drink wine. Okay, so that's going to be a problem for them. So they had an older guy talk to uh, the chef. This is why I want you to learn how to um, listen to older people, because that older person knew that they weren't going to do that. So older people have relationships, okay? And I believe it was Daniel, talked to the chef. Everybody know what would happen to Daniel and how how famous he was, because he was the one who was in the lions den, and them lions didn't touch him. Okay, and they were hungry lions too back then, because they basically fed him people food. Hello, but I digress. So they were supposed to do that for 3 years and then come and get it, have a physical or something. So I'm Daniel. I'm talked to the chef, or the king's chef, and he said, "Hey, you know what? These guys." Uh, but Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore, he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. That's a better way to say it than I was. I'm saying it. Stick to the word. Stick to the word. Okay. Now the Most High had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. All right. So it would have had to been that way, because The prince of the eunuchs, he's not going to go against the king. He knew exactly what was going to happen in 3 years. So basically, the prince of the eunuch was just trying to follow instructions, trying to keep his neck and head and together. So anyway, and the prince of the eunuch said unto Daniel in verse 10, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and drink. For why should he see your faces worsening like the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. Okay. So anyway, what what the what they used to eat and the way they used to eat, well, they were healthy. They were smart, but they just didn't eat meat. So Daniel knew that if they eat meat, they get fat and happy. Okay, so anyway, I digress. That's just an example to show you how if you do whatever you were called to do when you're older, you won't part from it. And most importantly, I'm just trying to emphasize that the Most High is working on you in every level of your life. The trick is to give him honor and glory, read his word, listen to his word. I don't know so much about the gospel music or anything. And hey, I used to be a gospel singer. I'm not saying that I've ever sung anyone into salvation. Okay, so I'm not crazy enough to think that, but do what you do what you've always done. And when the Most High is ready to use you, then you'll be in the right spot. Don't do the drugs and the alcohol, because there's a certain time that a giant's going to show up, and you don't want to be drunk or hungover, or you don't want to be a disobedient person and don't go do what your dad said. Because what David the giant killer did was his dad sent him to the war zone or the battle zone or whatever. But if Daniel was a rebellious kid or whatever, he never would have went. But since he was a obedient child, he went and did it. He could have been scared. I don't want to go there. There's giants out there. Okay, I'll send somebody else. Loving dad. He would say that. Okay. So uh, so since he was obedient, did what he was supposed to do, he won. He did what he was created to do. So he won. He beat it. He defeated the giant. So this is what's going to happen to you too. But chances are pretty good you got to get off the meat. Okay, in 2025, everybody's going viral now, telling you get off the meat. There is nothing new under the sun. It's always been that way. Get off the meat. Okay, it's not good for you. Okay, we're not meat eaters. Meat eaters got fangs. Them big things that come out of the top of their mouth. And them little sharp choppers on the bottom. So we don't have that. We're herbivores. Okay, and we're supposed to eat fruits and vegetables. The Bible says it like this: the Most High gave us seed for meat, way back in the book of Genesis, the book of Bereshit. That is Hebrew. If you read the Sefer, Cepher, which is older than the King James Version Bible. Okay, which I didn't know about that until I was like, I don't know, I think I was in my 50s. Not when I learned about the Sefer. And it's a very interesting book. The Sefer, it has the same books as the 66 in the King James Version Bible, but it also has the other ones that were taken out of the King James Version Bible or excluded from being put in the King James Version Bible. Okay. And even the ones that were kept in the King James Version Bibles, for example, I'm thinking Matthew 5:11 for some reason or another, but it's the that particular chapter and verse is the Lord's Prayer, and it's a little bit different than the one that's in the King James Version Bible, and it's actually beautiful. I was like, oh, who knew? Um, there are other versions of the Bible that have versions of the Lord's Prayer. There's a Sefer that has the title Sefer Millennial, and then there's one that just says Sefer. Both of those have Matthew chapter 5:11. They both have the Lord's Prayer, and those are a little bit different. So different versions, but they're both beautiful. They are giving glory and honor to God instead of give us this day our daily bread and lead us not into temptation. I believe that it omits that type of portion of the prayer, and it gives a recognition of the Most High and how He provides our portion and stuff like that. There, you should read it for yourself. I'm not going to try to go over that now because then I got to go get the book, try to find it, and I've already been on here for half an hour. All right, so nobody came in the room, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Love you all.